The time is finally here, the moment I've been waiting for all off season. In this video, I'm going to start my preseason predictions for the 2025 college football season, and I am going over the Big Ten Conference and predicting the standings. I have predicted the record for every single one of these Big Ten teams, and in this video, I'm going to rank them from number 18 to number 1, who I think wins the Big Ten. And starting off at the bottom of my Big Ten standings, I have Purdue at number 18. I have this team going 2-10, 0-9 in conference play. I don't expect great things from them. I know they got a completely overhauled roster with a great hire in Barry Odom. Give this team a few years and they could be a bowl team or better. I really like that hire. But year one of the Big Ten's not going to be easy with a brutal schedule. The quarterback position is a question mark. And Purdue returned 0 starters on defense and they lost its top 14 tacklers from last season. This is a completely reloaded team. We'll see what Barry Odom can do, but I think it's just going to be too tough. I have them at 2-10 with an 0-9 conference record. Another team I'm not expecting great things from is Maryland. I expect a step back from them. They had pretty solid quarterback play once again, but they lost a lot of guys on defense. In 2023, they got off to a hot start and had a very good quarterback at Tuilia Tagovailoa and a pretty solid defense. I believe they won like 8 games. But last season was a big step back, and now their head coach Mike Locksley is in the hot seat. Malik Washington could be alright at quarterback, but the offensive line is a huge question mark. I don't think he's going to be as good or experienced as Billy Edwards. And they just have a lot of work to do. I have this team at number 17 in the Big Ten. Number 16, I have Northwestern with a 3-9 record. I do have them winning 1 game in conference play, going 1-8. I do think this team does have some sneaky good offensive talent. They return a solid back in Cam Porter, and Preston Stone has to be their best quarterback pickup in a long time. He suffered a leg injury a little over a year ago. He got beat out by a very good quarterback in Kevin Jennings, but this guy was a baller for SMU if we don't forget. And I think this offense is going to be alright, and the defense has been pretty consistent. David Braun is a consistent head coach. The problem with this team is the schedule, and the Big Ten is just not an easy landscape. We'll see if the receiver Griffin Wild, the transfer portal pickup from South Dakota State, helps them out. This is an offense with potential. I could see them getting around 4 to 5 wins. But regardless, I do have them at number 16 going 3-9, 1-8 in conference play. I have UCLA at number 15. I have them going 5-7. I do have them at a 3-6 conference record, a lot better than Northwestern. So from 16 to 15, I think there's a big step forward. I think UCLA has some decent upside on defense. They were tough last season, and Nico Iamaleava should get the job done at quarterback. He's a good dual threat. He's nothing crazy, but he has potential as a former 5-star. They got a good backfield, and Javion Thomas is a great pickup that joins them in that backfield. They got a veteran front with many leaders back. I can't pronounce all their names. But they got some strengths on this team. I could see them making a bowl game, but I do have them at 5-7 with a 3-6 conference record at number 15 in the conference. Number 14, I have Wisconsin. I have them going 5-7, 3-6 in conference play. Look, it just seems like everything is coming crashing down on this team. Last season, they missed a bowl game, and now heading into this season, they might have the toughest schedule in the Power 4. They do have some optimism. The defensive front looks really good. They added some big-time guys up front. And the secondary should be one of the best in the conference with 4 returning starters. I do expect them to have an above-average defense, and Billy Edwards Jr. should help them improve. He's a solid quarterback. He was pretty efficient for Maryland last season. They're going to have to take some steps forward on offense. They only scored 22 points a game last season. We'll see what new offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes can do. It will probably be more of a run-focused attack, but Billy Edwards Jr. has an arm. But regardless, I don't really trust Luke Fickell. There's some things this team needs to work on, and the schedule is brutal. I don't see them making a bowl game. I have them at 5-7 with a 3-6 conference record. I'm expecting a step back from Iowa next season. I have them at 5-7, going 3-6 in conference play at number 13 in the conference. A lot of people like the quarterback pickup from the FCS, but we've seen this story before with Iowa picking up quarterbacks. He's an experienced quarterback, but he hasn't been super efficient. And it's going to be a different story jumping up from FCS play to Big Ten play. The defenses are going to be much tough. And losing Caleb Johnson is going to hurt. There could be some optimism with Tim Lester back as the OC, but defensively they aren't where they were 2 years ago and they lost a lot. Nick Jackson and Jay Higgins and defensive back Sebastian Castro are off to the NFL. They should be a decent defense, but overall they got some games on the schedule. I think they take a step back and go 5-7, 3-6 in conference play. Number 12, I have Rutgers at 6-6, also going 3-6 in conference play. Look, I trust Greg Schiano, and I think Athan Kaliakmanis is an underrated quarterback. They showed great things in that bowl game last season. And the backfield should be just fine with Antoine Raymond and Florida Atlantic transfer CJ Campbell. They do got some tough games and a tough schedule, but this is a team that is coming off back-to-back winning seasons. Greg Schiano is an excellent head coach. He's the winner. I expect this team to stay consistent. They missed a little bit of a beat on defense last season with some injuries, but I expect them to bounce back on defense. Dario Dajabom is a rising star on the second level. This is a Rutgers team that I think will find a way back to a bowl game, and I do have them at number 12 in the Big Ten. At number 11, I have Minnesota going 7-5, 4-5 in conference play. I expect them to be pretty solid. They got Darius Taylor back at running back, possibly a top 10 back in the nation. They got a young guy at quarterback in Drake Lindsey, who I think could be a rising star. PJ Fleck's been a pretty good head coach outside of a couple tough seasons. He's guided them to at least 8 victories in 3 out of the last 4 seasons. And honestly, I may have them at number 11, but this is a team that is not far off of being a playoff contender with the schedule. There's a lot of winnable games on the schedule and toss-ups. There's a way they can go 10-2. They are near the top of the Big Ten in return in production, and the defense is intact. The defense does return 5 starters and a standout safety in Coy Parrish. He had 5 interceptions as a freshman last season. They had one of the better units on defense last season. I expect them to be good again. I have them at 7-5, 4-5 in conference play at number 11. Maybe this is optimistic, but I have Michigan State at number 10. I have them going 7-5, 4-5 in conference play. I even have them with a win over Minnesota. Look, I trust Jonathan Smith at head coach, and I think Aiden Childs has enough experience. I expect a big step forward from him next season, and I think he'll cut back on turnovers. 5-7 was an alright debut last season. They showed some good things. They had that win over Iowa. But next season, they got some guys at wide receiver. Christian McCray and Amari Kelly are great pickups. And they added some additions to boost a struggling offensive line. Jonathan Smith is a rebuilder. He did it at Oregon State. The schedule isn't super brutal, and I think they find a way to have a solid season. And I think they will surprise some people. I have them at 7-5, 4-5 in conference play at number 10. I do have Washington at number 9, going 8-4, 5-4 in conference play. I think this team has some very good offensive upside. I can see them having a top 5 offense in the Big Ten. And if the defense can hold its own and play better than expected, this could be a team that possibly competes for a playoff spot because I have great optimism for the offense. I think Jedd Fisch was a good hire. Last season they made it work, but next season will definitely be a better year. Damon Williams is the future of this team. He's a rising star at quarterback. We saw what Jedd Fisch did with Noah Fafita at Arizona, but Damon Williams has just as much potential, probably even more. And we saw what he did. He threw for 944 yards with 8 touchdowns, 282 rushing yards, and 2 scores. And that was in limited playing time. They have a revamped offensive line, though, and they do have a lot of big pieces gone on defense. But I like the defensive coordinator pickup of Ryan Walters. He was the Purdue head coach, but he's a good defensive mind. They add 2 very good players in Takario Davis and Jacob Manu, 2 guys who were leaders at Arizona. This is a team that should be pretty solid. I think they managed to get 8 wins. I have Nebraska at number 8. I also think they go 8-4, 5-4 in conference play. Again, this is a team that has great potential, a great ceiling, but there are some question marks. They lose Tony White on defense, and they have some questions. Offensively, they got to take that step forward, but I think the offense is going to be very improved. Dylan Raiola should be good in year 2, and they have a much better receiving core with guys like Dane Key and Naziah Hunter coming in, and very good transfers on the O-line. They got some linebackers coming back and a very good secondary. I trust Matt Rule. He always has a great year 3. He led Baylor to double-digit wins, and he did the same for Temple. I don't think he'll do that for Nebraska, though. I have them going 8-4, but still a solid season. I have Michigan at number 7 going 8-4, 5-4 in conference play. I know a lot of people are high on this team. Some people even have them in their playoffs because they ended their last season with a win over Ohio State and Alabama. They have rising stars on defense and very good talent. They have great NIL resources, and the roster is there, and a five-star quarterback in Bryce Underwood. But honestly, I think it's a lot more hype than people realize. Yeah, they finished their season last year with very good wins, beating Ohio State, but they always do that. And Alabama was in shambles. I don't expect Bryce Underwood to be this crazy five-star quarterback for this team, and the defense loses multiple talented NFL players. Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant are both off to the NFL, and they also lost Will Johnson. They don't have any very good playmakers at wide receiver, so I don't expect them to be super good. I think they'll be decent though, probably better than last year. I just think Bryce Underwood has a lot more to prove. Give it another year or two, but I don't think this year's the year for Michigan. I have them at 8-4, and I only have them at number 7 in the Big Ten standings. At number 6, I have Illinois. I have them going 9-3, and I have them going 6-3 in conference play. Similar to Michigan, I think it's just too much hype for this team. Yes, they are top 5 in the country for return and production, but they did take some hits, losing 2 of their top offensive players at wide receiver and running back. They won a ton of one possession games last season, and next season it's going to be tougher to do that. They got the veteran quarterback in Luke Altmaier. They got a very good defense, one of the best secondaries in the country. But they got tough games on their schedule, and like I said, there was just too many one possession wins for that team. I mean, they almost lost to Purdue. Losing receivers Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin is going to hurt this team. The defense should be really good. Look, overall, I like their veteran team. I like the experience that they have and their quarterback, but I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I only have them at 9-3, at number 6 in the Big Ten. At number 5, I have Indiana. I have them at 9-3, 6-3 in the Big Ten. I have them with a win over Illinois, so I have them ahead of them. And despite having Indiana winning 2 less games in the regular season than last year, I do think they're going to be better than they were last season. They return a lot of pieces and very good portal additions on the offensive line with Pat Coogan and Khalil Benson. They got running back Roman Hemby. Receiver Elijah Surratt is a top 5 returner receiver in the nation. He'll be very good. I think Fernando Mendoza is extremely underrated and could be better than Curtis Work. So yeah, they lost some of their top leaders that led them to the playoffs, but they replaced them and might be even better. And they return a lot of guys on defense. 3 of the nation's top defensive players in Makai Kamara, Aiden Fisher, and D'Angelo Pons. This is a defense that only allowed 15 points a game last season. They could make their way back to the playoffs. I just don't like the schedule with the games against Oregon and Penn State, and they'll probably find a way to slip up somewhere else. They don't have a cakewalk schedule like they did last year, and they're going to have to play some tough teams. Illinois is one of them. Regardless, I have them at number 5 in the Big Ten, going 9-3. This is probably going to be a hot take to some, but I have USC at number 4. I think it's just the way the schedule lines up. I only have them going 9-3, but I do have them at 7-2 in conference play because I have them losing a game outside of the conference to Notre Dame. But I absolutely think this is a team that has the schedule to go to the playoffs. If they are able to go 10-2 with only losses to Oregon and Notre Dame, look, this team is a lot better than people give them credit for last season. It was a completely revamped defense with a year 1 defensive coordinator, but they took strides on defense. They went from allowing 34 points a game to 24 points a game, and there should be another step for this team in year 2 under Lynn at DC. They add Eric Gentry, Keyshawn Silver, Anthony Lucas. This is an extremely talented defense. They just need to put the pieces together. And offensively, I think they have a very good backfield, and they have one of the best 1-2s at wide receiver with Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane both back. USC lost a ton of one-possession games last season. They were competitive with Notre Dame and Penn State. They had wins over LSU and Texas A&M. They are ready for that stage. I think they take a huge step forward next season. And they might even be a playoff team if they can get to 10 wins. I just can't predict that yet. I don't think Maiyava is going to be super good. And the offensive line does have some questions. But regardless, Lincoln Riley is a winner. He's had multiple double-digit win seasons. He's a great recruiter, and people are way too down on this team. I have them at number 4 going 9-3. Now for my top 3 teams in the Big Ten, I really think it could go in any order. But at number 3, I have Oregon going 11-1 with an 8-1 conference record. I think they're a national title contender, but I only do have them at number 3 because the teams ahead of them are truly elite. And Oregon does have to reload. They only return a few starters. And they lost their projected number one receiver to injury in Evan Stewart. I really don't care what people say about this team. This is a team that will make it back to the playoffs. Dan Lanning is a great builder. They are one of the most talented teams in the country, if not the most talented. Dante Moore is a five-star quarterback ready to step up. Will Stein is a great offensive coordinator and has led multiple great quarterbacks for this team. They got weapons at wide receiver. Decore and Moore could be a 1,000-yard receiver as a true freshman, and I think Kenyon Sadiq is the best tight end in the country next season. The offensive line adds a five-star in Isaiah World. They should be very good there again. Defensively, they should also be very good. I just don't have a lot of questions with this team, but they do have to reload. We'll see what they can do. The secondary could be a concern, but regardless, this is just a too talented team. I have them at 11-1, number 3 in the Big Ten. Now at number 2, I have Ohio State going 11-1, 8-1 in conference play. I have them making the Big Ten championship game, but I have them losing in it. I think they will beat Penn State in the regular season, and I have them at 11-1 in the regular season. And I guess I should say 9-0 in conference. They're not 8-1 in conference. I have them losing to Texas, then winning out. I just think the talent is there. I think once the defense steps into its comfort zone, they'll be elite. And the offense has the talent, probably the best receiving core in the nation. And Julian Saints, a five-star quarterback. But the team I think they will lose to in the Big Ten championship is Penn State. I have them going 11-1, 8-1 in conference play. I think they will win the Big Ten, getting revenge from their loss against Ohio State earlier in the season. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this team went 12-0 in the regular season and won the Big Ten. I am so high on them. I think it is the time for this team to break through, and I could see them winning the Natty. Jim Knowles is a great defensive coordinator pickup, and Andy Kotelnicki is going to take it to another level in year 2 with a completely revamped receiver room. They add 1,000-yard receiver in Devontae Ross. They got Syracuse's top receiver in Trevor Penna, and they got one of USC's very talented receivers in Kyron Hudson. They returned 4 or 5 starting offensive linemen. They returned both their elite running backs, top 5 in the nation. They return a top 5 quarterback in the nation in Drew Aller. Look, I could go on and on. I don't care about James Franklin's track record of losing the big games. People said the same thing about Ryan Day. People said the same thing about Jim Harbaugh. People even said the same thing about Marcus Freeman last season. He went to the Natty. If you really look at the roster of Penn State, I think they have the potential to be dominant with the experience and that coaching staff. That's why I do have them winning the Big Ten. I think they have massive potential, and I think they show that potential with beating Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. But anyways, that is going to do it for my 2025 Big Ten predictions and standings. You guys let me know what you agree or disagree with down in the comments below. And let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. I started a college football ESPN Pick'em group not so long ago. Feel free to check that out. It is in the pinned comments and the description below. I'm trying to get people to join and pick games with me. But without further ado, that's going to do it, guys, and peace out.